Hello, and we've made it to Zwift number 69, stage 4, Allez Allez Allez, RGV course. There it is there. We've got the marina sprint in reverse before a big long flat section. Then we've got the pavé sprint in reverse before the aqueduct KOM. And then we move out towards the finish line where we've got the ballon sprint in reverse. So quite a relatively flat section apart from the aqueduct, but looking forward to it really. We're in the category 270 to 390 again. I'm on a Zwift racing score of 337. We had 76 people sign up for the race, but only 70 went over the start finish line. It was 24.9 kilometres of racing and just 133 metres of inclines, so not completely flat, not relatively flat, but certainly not as hilly as some of the races that I've had to compete in and not do so well in. So looking forward to this one. Huge long part of the race was a flat section at the start, and just wanting to keep with the rest of the riders really as we head out. We left a few of the riders by about 10-15 seconds, but predominantly there was about 60 riders in this front group, and I just sat at the back. I just wanted to keep myself at the back, hoping that I would be able to draft and stay in the draft of all the other riders. So just settled in really. Recognised that with us having around about 60 riders in this front group and a couple more joined us here, recognising that there would be a lot of benefit from being able to sit in the draft of the other riders, and also having no expectation that my average watts per kilogram or my average watts would be high, because I would be using the benefits of that draft, which would then allow me just to settle in and not put as much exertion into the race. So here we are, I'm back in 50th position. I'm conscious at this point here at 2.6 kilometres in the race that you can see when we get up to the right hand corner in front of us that we're quite stretched, and I was just conscious that I didn't want to be on the wrong side of a split, although I wouldn't have expected a split to occur because there's so many riders here that somebody will pull it back. But with that in mind, I put a little bit of extra effort in just to make sure I was a little bit further forward in the group. That was the first time I actually came from sitting right at the back of the draft. So took a more forward position in the group, so just making sure that if anything did split, then I'd hopefully be on the right side of it. But we still got 21 kilometres to go, so it's a long way out. And what you find is that if one or two riders do want to make a push for the finish line, the drafting effect of 50 riders behind would mean that they would have to put a huge amount of effort in just to stay away from us. So it's not surprising that after 4.5 kilometres of the race, we're all sat together here. So you can see that given we've only done 1 metres of climbing, how flat the first 5 kilometres have been, and just pushing on nice and strongly. My average watts was 234. It's slowly increased from about 218 at the start, and just continuing to push nice and hard. My heart rate's nice and low also, so pleased with how I feel at the moment. Just keeping a very close eye on if anybody tries to push away, or if anybody tries therefore to create a breakaway and split the group up. But yeah, I'm just sat here in a little bit more comfortable position here, I'm not right at the back of the group, which is where I have been at times. So just covering all bases really, and just keep on pushing it. What confused me at one point, well, it didn't confuse me, but it just distracted me slightly, is that there were 3 Swedish Zwift racing team kits on show. Gogs from Scotland was wearing one, and you can see the one just going back out the back of the screen there. And at one point, all 3 of us are side by side in the race. So I'm not sure what the chances of that are, but it just distracted me for a little bit as I was started concentrating on the SZR tops. So I felt that the pace was gradually increasing. You can see we've gone up to 8 metres, which is nothing spectacular by any means, but you know, I'm putting down a huge amount of watts. Heart rate is 145, so it's not too bad still. Average watts is up to 237. You can see that I'm 260, and you can see that I'm pushing out more watts than my average constantly at the moment. So yeah, pleased with how I felt. Legs were okay riding. I just wanted to carry on really, and just wanted to prepare myself fully for the aqueduct, which you can see is the bump in the middle of the mini map on the top right hand corner. You can also imagine that this is going to be the place where some of the riders will try and make a push for it or a breakaway for it, and we'll just see how that materialises really. So still got a good position right up to the front of the group. You can see that we've all blobbed up. You can see that from the mini map. I do believe that we are coming close to the second power up. On the first one right at the start I got the aero boost, so I'll pop that shortly. You can see that a couple of riders have gone off the front, so I am very conscious of what they do. So you can see my heart rate goes up above 270 for a short period, just making sure that I can sit with these other riders here. You know, I'm in 30th position at the moment, so there's about 20 riders ahead of me, but you can see that they are pushing it, but everybody else is pushing also, and it's stretched the group. You can see a rider's gone off the back in the mini map. There's at least 3 or 4 of them, if not more than that, that you can see have been distanced from the front group. But so let's just keep an eye on that. So those tactics I've talked about, where I have to make sure that I'm quite close to the front in case a split occurs. That did happen there, and some of those riders did get distance. They have actually got back, and you can see probably there's 2 of them there who've just pushed straight out to the front, as they've had to put down a lot of energy. So yeah, that's something to be aware of, that you don't want to be in that position, because you will be exerting a lot of energy to try and get back onto the group. So here we are again, 11 kilometres in. We're not too far from the bottom of the aqueduct, and it's going to be interesting to see how we get on during this section here. Here's the second sprint, the pavé sprint reverse. I've got no intentions of trying to win sprints or anything like that. I'm not sure if the riders like Heritage there, you can see come through gently, is trying to make an effort to get the sprint. The rider right out the front looks like he wanted to push for it, and he settles back into the group, so maybe that was his attempt to do something with the sprint. But we're still all together. There's still around about 50 riders. We have lost a few. Can't tell you how far back they are at the moment, but if I drop back in my position, you might be able to see it. But with me getting close to the bottom of the aqueduct, I wanted to make sure that I was quite close to the front, because all the other riders, well, not all the other riders, I'm not the best of climbers. Even though it's only a short climb up to the aqueduct, I wanted to make sure that I was right up in the front, so that if there were any splits I wouldn't miss out. So here we go, you can see it's in 3 tiers. We've already done one. Here's the second one. It only lasts a few seconds, but I'm pushing on hard. You can see the watts are up over 330, and that's over the second one, and you can see I'm about 20th position. So final effort here. I'm up out of the saddle at the moment and pushing hard, 500 watts, just to make sure that I can stay with this group, because I've been in these races before on the aqueduct, and just the slightest lack of concentration will mean that you get distance, and you've got to keep pedalling. I was absolutely goosed here. You can see my heart rate's gone off, but I can guarantee that I was probably up about 170 at this point, and really working hard. And you can see there's a split in about 10th position. There's about 10-15 riders out the front. There's half a dozen of them just in front of me. I put another effort in here, but then I ease off because I can see riders are going past me, so I'll use their draft. The second group looks like it's caught the first group, and I'm now in what I would suggest is the third group, and just making sure that I can ease back to the rest of the riders as well. So I'm in 34th position, it popped up on the screen there, but you can see the rest of the riders behind me have all been distanced, so we've broken it down to a front group of 34, so I'm pleased with that. I've got no intention of winning the race with a Zwift racing score of 3:35, but pleased that I'm still in with the 390s. So putting in a great deal of effort. You can see that my heart rate monitor is playing up because it loses connection constantly all the way through now to the end of the race, so it goes off and it will come back on. And then despite the fact that I'm putting a huge amount of energy down or power down, you'll see that my heart rate at times drops to like 120, which wasn't accurate or correct. So I'll change the battery for the next race anyway. But yeah, here we are, we're still all together, top 30. You can see in the mini map how various riders are getting distance. There's a group 3-4 seconds behind, S. Alec and M. Reed from Target 2.5 from Matt King's old group, which I used to be a part of, so it was nice to see somebody else from the 2.5 group. And then yeah, they're up to about two seconds. They're up to 2 seconds now, so they look as though they're going to catch hold of us. Bowers is slightly distanced. He's 7 seconds back, so he looks like he's not going to be able to catch hold of us. But I lose my concentration here. There's Goggs 2 places behind me in the SZR kit, as I was talking about before. I presume his name is Goggs. I might be wrong with that, but he can surely comment and let me know. But here we are, still top 30. Those riders behind, who were 2-3 seconds behind, don't look as though they've been able to bridge the gap, although if you can see on the mini map they've made a huge effort and do appear that they are just about to catch hold of us potentially. But I think this scenario actually yo-yos, because if you keep an eye on them in the top right hand corner, you'll see that that gap opens back up again, and it's back up to 3-4 seconds between Charman and various other riders, Alec there. And I do think that's because we put the effort in the front. You can see how we are completely stretched out. I'm really struggling. Heart rate's probably about 160. There you go, it is 160 there, because at times it will drop off and go back down to 120, which I commented on a minute ago, but it's probably accurately about 160. So really struggling. Legs feel really tired after the aqueduct and trying to keep with everybody else up the KOM for the aqueduct. But with 6 kilometres to go, I'm really pleased that I've stayed with this top group, and I would be pleased if I finished in 34th position and finished the last of this front group, just because the intensity and the effort it's taken for me to stay with the rest of the group. So we'll see how it goes anyway. We've only got 5.5 kilometres to go. I've got another aero boost. I did pop a drafting boost right on the top of the aqueduct to try and stay with everybody else and not use as much energy. You can see that I've got an aero boost for the next one, and well, I'll tell you now because it doesn't really spoil the story, but I do actually forget to pop the power up before the end of the race, so I don't actually use that aero, which is disappointing and a bit of a lack of concentration. But yeah, there's a few riders out the front. At this point I thought, are they going to make a break for it? Shall I just try and put a little bit of effort down and just go with those 3 riders and see if they're going to make an effort? Because if I'd got through to the top 3 riders and had a breakaway with those 3 riders, I would have been very impressed with my effort. But as it turned out, the chasing group hunted them down, and we all came back together. But that was short-lived, because you can see out the front now, Scholas and Makarov have already pushed out in front, and there's a couple of other riders there who are working hard to potentially keep away. But with me being in the zone now and working quite hard, I was happy staying with the rest of the group. There was no way I was going to be able to do a plan B and do a breakaway, or the last 5 minutes of racing and really put the hammer down and really go for it. I didn't have that sort of energy in my legs, so it was basically a hanging on scenario where I would hopefully just hang on with these riders until right to the end of the race. But here we are, we're in the intestines now, and it's the last part of the race. We've still got 30 metres of climbing to go, so just making sure that I can stay with these riders. But with these undulations or inclines being very short and punchy, you can see that I was able to manage these first inclines quite well, and I go up at the front for a short period and put down a huge amount of effort. I'll get up out the seat, well, say a huge amount of effort, a good amount of effort. Watts are around 440, so I'm up at my saddle now as I'm riding on the bike, and you can see that I'm up at the front, which is going to stretch everybody else. So I'm pleased with this. I was goosed after doing it, so just hope that I'd be able to stay with the rest of the riders who were with me, because we've only got 1.6 kilometres to go, and you can see that they've really stretched out in front now. So whether we all come back together is another thing. I'm not sure whether we'll be able to manage it, but I'm back now in 24th position, and there's very few riders behind me. But it does slowly start to come back together again. We've only got 1 kilometre to go. I'm conscious that am I going to catch hold of the rest of the riders? Possibly not. So what I choose to do then is follow some of the riders out in front. So there's T. Arena riding out the front at the moment, but soon you can see that he is going to get caught by others, so I have to swap, and then I go with Eric Tiger home, then jump to El Potti. I think I've ridden with El Potti before. So here we come into the finish line, very close finish, but you can see that Chris Schultz is out in front hitting the red numbers. I was following Potti, but he wasn't able to catch that group. And you can see there's a very close finish. I try and get a few riders crossing the line, but with us crossing the line quite close, it was very hard to scan through all the riders. So hopefully you did catch yourself at some point there crossing the finish line. There's the results as they popped up on my screen at the end of the race, but I'll go through the results now. In first place we had Chris Scholes. He completed the race in a time of 36 minutes and 48 seconds, averaging 2.9 watts. Then we had Stu Howlett, Velus Flyers, just a tenth of a second behind. Third we had Bukes, 2/10 of a second behind. Then Ryan Ridley, he was commenting through the race a few times. He was just under a half a second behind. Then El Potty eventually finished 5th, so he died off towards the end, or got passed by some stronger riders. 6th we had A Victor. 7, Eric Tigerholm, who I followed shortly. Then 8th we had Andreas Egelor, who finished just over a second behind, averaging 3.2 watts. Then we had Nick V in 9th. And then we had, in 10th place, Roland Howard in 1.15 seconds behind the winner. So, yeah, an enjoyable ride. I was pleased with my effort. I want to be getting on the bike more than once a week. It just seems to be every Tuesday at the moment. Hopefully that will materialise and I'll get on later on in the week. I'm not sure which day, but hopefully I can get back on the bike. So not too bad a race for me. Enjoyed the race. Zwift racing score went up to 349. No, 347. No, 339. Sorry, 339. So I'm away a little bit off where I have been at my highest. 359, I think, is the highest I've ever had it. So, yeah, pleased with how that went. But hopefully you enjoyed watching it. A lot of riders in the race. So I'll catch you all again soon for Zwift number 70. Thanks. Bye bye.